What's a movie from your childhood that you have good memories of? For me, that could be applied to pretty much every single DreamWorks animation movie. One in particular that I have great memories of is Over the Hedge. For the past couple of weeks, I've rewatched a lot of my favorite childhood movies to see if they are still as good as I remember them to be, and Over the Hedge is one of them. Hi everyone, I hope y'all are doing fine. In today's video, I am going to review a movie from my childhood and probably from yours too. That movie is Over the Hedge, like I said previously. If you want to support this channel, don't forget to leave a like or dislike if you want. Subscribe if you want more content like this. At the moment that I record this video, we're almost at 100 subscribers, and I want to thank you guys for that. Enough yapping said, let's start this video. Also, spoilers alert for the rest of the video, even if it's pretty useless nowadays. Before giving my opinion on this movie, here's some additional information that can help us understand how this movie was created and who worked on it. Over the Hedge is an adventurous comedic animated movie produced by DreamWorks Animation and distributed by Paramount Pictures. It was released in the global US on May 19, 2006. Over the Hedge had a budget of $80 million and accumulated $339.8 million from the box office, which is a pretty nice ratio, not gonna lie. The movie has two directors, Tim Johnson and Kerry Kirkpatrick. Tim Johnson directed two long-length movies before Over the Hedge, Ants and Sinbad, Legend of the Seven Seas. I've never watched any of his previous movies, honestly, so I can't judge him for his directing skills. 9 years later though, he directed Home, which doesn't seem to have a great reputation nowadays. Over the Hedge was also Kerry Kirkpatrick's first movie as a director. Before this movie, he worked mostly as a screenplay writer on some projects that you can see on screen right now. After Over the Hedge, he directed two other long-length movies, Imagine That and Smallfoot. I have not watched any of his movies either. Embarrassing, you would say. So I also can't judge his directing skills. Here are on screen the writing credits of the movie. Shout out to them and shout out to you if you recognize any of these names, because I don't. Sorry y'all. Over the Hedge stars Bruce Willis as RJ, Gary Shandling as Vern, Steve Carell as Hammy, and many more. Special shout out to Wanda Sykes who voices Stella so greatly. Now, with all that information said, let's talk about what I liked during my watch time of Over the Hedge. The first things that I like about this movie are the fun, fast-paced scenes. These scenes that I am talking about are the scenes that last for like 2 minutes, where we see our characters do some random stuff like stealing food or get their ass kicked while music plays in the background. I find them fun to watch, and they make the movie more entertaining when they are used as transitions between longer scenes. When a longer scene plays with dialogues, it misses some action, you know? But when these fast-paced scenes arrives as transitions between the longer scenes, your attention gets captivated again. The thing that makes these scenes more enjoyable, in my opinion, is the music playing in the background. Imagine these fast scenes without the music. They would become weird, wouldn't you agree? I believe music is the main reason why these scenes are fun to watch. It's not just the music, I know. There's the action, the pacing, the humor too. But music is a key part of it. Talking about music, another thing that I liked about this movie is the soundtrack. This movie's score was composed by Rupert Gregson-Williams, who did a great job at that. But my favorite part about the soundtrack are the original songs performed by Ben Folds. They are amazing and they bring so many emotions inside of me. These songs are literally parts of some of my daily playlists, and I'm not even joking. Another thing that I liked about this movie is the diverse catalog of characters. Every character in this movie is different and brings a different attitude on screen. When you watch a movie, you don't want all of your characters to look the same and act the same. You want diversity in looks and personalities, which this movie does greatly. From the boring Vern to the excited Hammy, the catalog of characters is pretty diverse, and you can find a favorite character that suits your liking, whoever you are. Another thing that I liked about this movie is some of the lightning. During the movie, there are some shots that use lightning in a really original way while still being motivated by the environment. For example, one of my favorite lightning moments of the movie is when RJ appears to the other animal characters as if he was some kind of messiah, with one ray of light coming from the sun through the tree's branches. It looks pretty good, and it also has a cool meaning behind it, which is what I like to see when it comes to lightening a scene. Other things that I liked about this movie are its themes, but mostly the main one. The two themes of the movie are, in my opinion, overconsumption and family. Family is not the theme that I want to focus on here. The deeper theme of the movie is clearly overconsumption, and there is a lot to talk about here. The movie clearly mocks the human race for buying and producing more food than they need. It's one of our modern society's biggest problems, and this movie tries to tell that to us. You don't necessarily need to overbuy the amount of food required to feed yourself. You can survive with just the average amount of food required. A sentence said by RJ that I think really summarizes this subject is this one.
We eat to live. These guys live to eat.
We can clearly, as humans, relate to that and even agree. The movie tells a story from the animal's perspective, and from their point of view, we can understand how stupid it can be sometimes. So I like that the movie tries to denounce this problem and make it more ridiculous. Another thing that I liked about this movie is RJ's character development. I previously mentioned that family is the second theme of the movie, and in my opinion, it's especially shown with RJ's character development. He started the movie as a lonely raccoon who tried to rob a bear and ended up getting indebted. He tries to collect what he owes to the bear by manipulating the animals he recently met so they can help him get his food back. In an unexpected turn of events, he made a family and became attached to them. So his motives were challenged throughout the whole movie, and I like it. The movie tells us through his character development that family matters more at the end of the day. Finally, the last things that I liked about this movie are the villains. The movie is composed of three main threats: the bear, the adult lady, and the exterminator. Each of these threats impacts the movie in a different way, and there are threats at different levels. The first threat that we encounter is the bear named Vincent, because he wants his food back. So now this threat is attached to RJ's character, and during the whole movie we hope that RJ will pay him back so he doesn't get killed. And so the bear creates a time-limited suspense throughout the whole movie without necessarily being there physically. The next villain is the adult lady named Gladys Sharp. She is, in my opinion, the worst villain of the movie because she is not really a threat herself to our protagonists. They just appear to hang around her property.
Is hanging around.
She's just an unlikable person that calls for help to exterminate these animals. And so that brings us to the last villain of this movie, the exterminator called Dwayne. His goal is to capture our protagonists. And so when our main characters enter the neighborhood, the audience doesn't know if he will appear out of nowhere randomly or if our characters will fall into one of his traps. But the best thing about these villains, in my opinion, is at the end of the movie. All their hatred towards our protagonists are combined and they all try to kill them. And so they became really threatening together, even if they're not really working together. I like how this hatred accumulated towards our protagonists end up being combined at the end like some sort of climax. Now, with all that said, let's talk about what I found okay during my watch time of Over the Hedge. The first thing that I found okay about this movie is the voice acting. I wasn't really impressed by it, let's say. It was just average. I didn't say wow while looking at my screen, you know? But I mean, they did pretty fine. My favorite performance of the movie, the one that really stood out, in my opinion, is Wanda Sykes voicing Stella. I think she really brought something special to the table. She made her character funnier and more likable. The attitude that her acting gave to Stella's character was greatly performed. For the rest of the casting, I think it could have been better for some, but for others it couldn't, because their character's personality limited the performance they could give.
What?
For example, on one side of the medal, if you understand my metaphor, it's originally a French metaphor, so I don't know if it works in English, we'll see. But on one side of the medal, I think Nick Nolte voicing Vincent could have been better. He did a really nice, deep, and menacing voice, but I think he could have been more menacing. On the other side of the medal, I think Gary Shandling gave a bad performance because his character limited him. Here's why I believe that. Vern is a boring character because of his slow personality. I feel like this character was missing some emotions and reactions, but his slowness blocked him from being more emotional. He really was a neutral character emotion-wise. And so, this aspect of his character would limit the person who would turn out to voice him, which turned out to be Gary.
Lots. I gotta admit, that does look tasty.
What are you doing here?
What are you doing here?
Another thing that I found okay about this movie is the animation. Sadly, it's not DreamWorks' fault, it's mine. The animation is old, obviously, because the movie was released in 2006. That's why I don't like it that much. It's still easily watchable though. It's just missing a unique style of animation, because it just looks like all of the other 3D computer-generated animated movies released during that period of time. It was not a revolution of that time like Into the Spider-Verse is right now. Another thing that I found okay about this movie is the humor. This movie was targeting a younger audience, obviously, so there was a lot of butt jokes. At least something good that I can say about it is that it's less repetitive than the other DreamWorks movies that I have reviewed, like B-Movie and Flushed Away. You can go watch these reviews if you're curious about it. There was only one moment where I really thought the joke was getting too long and too repetitive.
Here's the plan. Now, the traps are set here, 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 here,
I really wanted to game end myself while watching this scene. Finally, before moving on to the things that I disliked about Over the Hedge, I want to point out a mistake that I have made in my last 2 reviews and that I could have done again here. I want to mention how cartoonish the movie is. So, what's the mistake I've made, you'd ask? Well, here it is. Animation is supposed to make cartoonish moments. I've watched a video recently on YouTube that talks about why Disney shouldn't make a Tangled live action movie. This video was made by a creator named Art at Midnight, and I strongly suggest you to go take a look at her channel. In this video, she mentions how animation is supposed to defy physics, which is something that I criticized B-Movie, Flushed Away, and Toy Story for doing. I want to apologize about that, Logan Paul style. I understood from her video that that's what animation is made for, to make unrealistic moments come to life on screen. And I was going to talk about how goofy some of the physics are in Over the Hedge, but I now realize that it would be a mistake, and I apologize for my thoughts about this on my previous 3 reviews. Now, with all that said, let's talk about what I disliked during my watch time of Over the Hedge. The first thing that I disliked about this movie is Vern's character. He is one of the main characters of this movie, and I don't like it. He's such a boring character, literally, like I mentioned previously. It makes his appearances on screen so long and boring, and just not fun. I feel bored whenever he speaks or does something, and it's caused by his slowness and his voice acting. I also don't like that he is the leader of his family. He makes his family more boring to watch, honestly. The only thing that I like about him being the leader of his family is the contrast it creates when RG enters their life. When RG seems to be the new kind of leader of the family, he makes the events of the movie so much more fun to watch. And I guess that's why the members of this family accepted him as their new leader, because it shook out the boringness Vern was bringing on the family's mood. Another thing that I disliked about this movie is that some of the plot points are just repetitive and not incredibly interesting. During most of the movie, the plot is just animals stealing food from humans, which happens so many times, and the whole story feels centered about it, which becomes boring after too long. The story could have been more fun and more adventurous maybe, but that's just my opinion. Finally, the last thing that I disliked about this movie is the environment. The environment is pretty much the same during the whole movie. It's either forests or the neighborhood. Both of these places feel boring and lack diversity in details. I feel bored when looking at the same green forest during many of the scenes. The thing that helps is that because the characters are small, it makes the environment feel bigger for the audience. And so, with all that information said, here is my overall review of Over the Hedge. Over the Hedge is a movie that denounces the overconsumption of food and how we don't need that much amount of food in our lives, which is a deep message that is represented clearly. The story feels a little repetitive at times, but it's carried by its diversified catalog of characters that all bring something different on screen. The humor of this movie is not that great. It's too childish, actually. The events are also not adventurous enough, in my opinion. The music is incredible, though. I will give this movie a 7 out of 10. Thank you for watching this video. What do you think of Over the Hedge? Leave a comment in the comment section down below telling me your thoughts on the movie. Leave a like or dislike if you want. Subscribe if you want more content like this, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya!